Hi, my name is Dr. Izquierdo, and I am a board certified family physician and geriatrician. Have you ever wondered if there's anything you can do to prevent loss of your mental abilities or cognitive decline? Well, you're in the right place. There are many things that you can do to really prevent losing your mental abilities. And today we're going to go over very simple tips, including 8 of the more evidence-based interventions that work to really help preserve your brain functions. So let's start with, how do we challenge the brain? Well, this is a very simple equation. If we're doing an activity that's new, it requires effort, it's enjoyable, and has a social component, it equals to a brain boosting activity. Now, the activity itself doesn't have to have all of the 4 qualities, but it should have at least 2 of them to really trigger certain areas in the brain. So again, new and effortful, new and social, effortful and enjoyable, those are good. So I'll give you an example. I'll try a new cooking recipe today. Well, it's something that for me, I love to cook. So it's something new, enjoyable, and if I am doing it with my husband or my partner, then it's a social activity as well. So this is just a short example of how we can do a small activity to promote cognitive support. So I'm going to go over the 8 tips based on evidence that really support brain health and cognitive support. Tip number 1 is move your body. Now this is very important because, as we're going to see later on, the brain and the heart, the circulatory system, they have a connection. And when we move, when we do physical activity, it increases blood flow. It promotes better circulation and what we called neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to really adapt to change and recover from certain types of injuries. And this is very important as we grow older because it's going to help us build a stronger brain. Now, depending on the types of movements, there are several that really integrate multiple benefits, such as coordination, balance, or learning new patterns. This is really going to support brain health and, again, cognition. So I'm going to go over the 5 most beneficial exercises for cognitive support, and I'm going to start with walking, especially in new environments. Again, walking should be the base of all physical activity. It's the first exercise I recommend to all of my patients when they're starting a physical activity program, because it's easy to do and implement, and it's going to help with conditioning and help with just movement in general. When we do it outdoors or in a new setting, we add again the novelty and the challenge. When we walk outdoors, there's also it requires more attention because we're going to be having to pay attention to the terrain. We're going to have different inclines, and it's going to be a bit more challenging than doing it indoors. But again, do it where it's most accessible and safe according to the physical limitations and your medical conditions. When you do it outdoors, there's the additional benefit of sensory stimulation, especially for patients with dementia, because we're going to have other elements such as changes in temperature. We're going to have sensory stimulation through the sense of smell, flowers, tactile stimuli, and all of that is going to help with grounding and relaxation. So we have other benefits there. In terms of more structured exercises, racket sports has been ranking amongst the most popular nowadays, and it has a lot of cardiovascular benefits. It helps with what's called VO2 max and just increasing your heart rate and promoting better cardiovascular health. But in terms of cognitive support, it also includes coordination, planning, and there is a strategic component that really you don't see it in other types of exercises, plus a social element, because we usually do racket sports with someone else or in teams. So racket sports is really the top sport for activating most of our neurocognitive domains. So it is the best exercise, again, but usually due to the high cardiovascular demand, it's not something we could do daily necessarily, but it is a great sport to pick up if you're aiming for most of the health benefits. In terms of yoga and Tai Chi, they have great benefits for the geriatric population because they add elements of coordination, balance, flexibility, and proprioception, which is really helping you support or detect, the where you are, and that has been proven to decrease your fall risk. So these are great exercises that, again, we can try to modify yoga. We do seated yoga and stretching for patients with physical disabilities, so it's something that it's really important to integrate both exercises that promote flexibility and others that are promoting cardiovascular health and support. In terms of dancing, I love dancing because it's something that you could do at home. You could use music that is important to you, that puts you in a good mood, and it's going to have additional benefits. But if not, if you sign up for a dance class, again, we are adding a novelty element. We're adding a group or social setting, and this is going to support our neuroplasticity and our cognitive health. So dancing is great, and it's something that we usually also incorporate within nursing homes or, elderly care in group settings. The second tip is keep in mind you are what you eat, and MIND actually stands for the Mediterranean-intervention for neurodegenerative delayed. It is a special diet created by researchers which combines the benefits of both the Mediterranean and the DASH diet. Now, it sounds complicated, but basically it just aims to control your risk factors that has been shown or linked to increasing dementia risks. So it basically aims to lower blood pressure, cholesterol, control blood glucose, and lower your inflammation. So the MIND diet is built around brain-supported foods that have been tied to reducing neurodegeneration over a period of 2 years. And how does it work? We're going to incorporate specific foods that are natural and heart healthy because they work through different mechanisms, such as, for example, we have berries such as strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries. Now, they are rich on antioxidants and they work to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress at a cellular level. We have olive oil and good fats that come from fish such as salmon and sardines that are rich in omega-3s, which really help support vascular health and neuronal membrane integrity. We also have fiber-rich foods. Then fiber is going to be crucial because it helps regulate blood sugar, it helps us curb our hunger, and it really supports our gut health, acting as a prebiotic. Now, we need this to really function well. So high fiber foods include whole grains such as oats, quinoa, brown rice, but also legumes, certain types of them like black beans, chickpeas, and lentils. Now, these also provide a plant-based protein as well as micronutrients such as iron, which is basic building block for our vascular health. So these are very important, and you should have at least 3 to 4 servings per week. We also have other types of food groups that we should limit, which includes processed foods, which should be high in saturated fat, like butter. It usually limits to less than 1 tablespoon per day. Cheese, and of course processed meat, which has also been linked to colon cancer risks. In terms of alcohol, they also limit the consumption and tolerated wine due to polyphenols and other antioxidant benefits, which has been debated a lot. But again, it should be limited because higher doses provide inflammation. So we have that balance. So in a nutshell, that's the MIND diet. And again, the idea is to slow brain aging through both vascular and neuroprotection. So tip number 3 is that sleep supports brain maintenance. Basically, if we sleep poorly, which is considered less than 7 hours per day, chronically for weeks, month, or year, we create what's called long-term dysregulation or chronic sleep debt. And this has been linked to higher inflammation, metabolic changes. It can affect your weight, your body composition, and make you more irritable, more sensitive to stress, and cause mood instability, because during this sleep, deep sleep, we are processing information. It affects our prefrontal cortex and our hippocampus, which basically deals with encoding memories and deals with attention and focus. So we have experienced it when we travel, poor sleep. We feel groggy, we feel like we can focus or, process information the same way. And this is what happens if we don't sleep well. So what can we do to really promote good sleep habits? There are multiple interventions that are evidence-based. The first one is that really we need to promote what is called our natural circadian rhythm. So this is basically an internal clock that we have that really supports the way we process day and night, and basically our bodily functions that go side by side with that. So having early sunlight exposure for the first 15 minutes really supports basically signaling our brain we are awake, it is daytime, and we need to go on with our daytime schedule. And it basically sends signals to the hormones and to everybody in our body that it's daytime and we need to be alert and have energy and so forth. So what happens when we're, in a dark cave and we have no exposure to natural sunlight? Well, our brain doesn't recognize that changes in day and night, and then we start having sleep issues. So again, early morning sunlight exposure is very important, as well as trying to create a structured sleep routine. For example, trying to get to bed the same time every night, scheduling what we call a sleep hygiene routine or a wind down routine. It can be lowering the overhead lighting, playing relaxing music, having a warm bath. Everyone has a different routine. Reading a couple of pages of a book, all of that can really help, lower your stress levels and support a rapider sleep induction. Our sleep environment is also very important. Now, as per evidence, we should limit blue screen, at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. And that's why many neurologists and specialists do not recommend also having a TV in bed or having your phone near your bed, because we are constantly telling our brain, hey, it's daytime, it's not nighttime, and it can impact the way, how fast we fall asleep, basically. Having a cool temperature, adequate mattress, clean sheets, all of that, small details can really support a rapid sleep induction. Now, avoiding caffeine and alcohol after 2 p.m., these have been linked to, again, impairing our sleep quality, as well as having too many fluids or water prior to bedtime, because then we're going to have a full bladder. Caffeine itself is a diuretic, so we're going to have to go to the bathroom more frequently, and this can, again, disrupt our sleeping quality. So that's why many specialists, again, we recommend limiting food and water intake at least 3 hours before bed. We talked about the relaxing routine and bladder emptying, using the bathroom before going to bed as a preventive measure, and having, ensuring you don't have to wake up to go to the bathroom. So for good sleep habits, remember that we need to condition our brain. Our bed is only for sleeping, and for that we need to implement the right habits and the right wind down routine. Tip number 4 is social connection protects cognition. Now that we have a lot of evidence that says that social isolation increases dementia risk, and that is why, regular interaction has been shown to boost not only memory but mood as well, and even daily brief connection helps. So if we still have the ability to just walk outside, talk to someone, pick up the phone, call a neighbor, call a family member, even a brief daily interaction really helps have a sense of connection and purpose. So here's where community really helps support our resilience. So if we have a challenge when we have patients without a good support system, And this puts them at risk, when they're injured, when they're sick, who's going to take care of them? But it's important that beyond that they build a community. So how do we do it? You can do group classes, social clubs, volunteering, mentoring, of course, according to your health conditions and your mobility, and accessibility. But this is very important early on to really help build a community to support not only your cognition, but your mood and your well-being. So tip number 5, an idle brain is at risk. So we need to challenge our brain. And how can we do this? We talked about novelty and challenge as one of the core principles for stimulating your brain. This is going to support, again, neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to really adapt to change. So how can we do it? It's learning new skills. So if we're driving to the same supermarket, let's try a different route. Again, novelty, trying a new recipe or hobby. It's a great way to add novelty to our daily lives. We can also do, strategy games. So we talk a little bit within the racket sports that they add planning and strategy, but we can do that in a simple manner if we're not as active through logic, puzzles, Sudoku, different things that are going to add, a mathematical component or requires an extra thinking step. Scheduling structures tasks with sequencing also helps the brain because, again, we need to be engaged, we need to have focus and attention, and we need to execute in a coordinated manner. So a good example is a complex cooking recipe. It's not the same doing a recipe that has 3 steps versus one that has, 10 steps or requires, bread, for example, that you have to leave it for several hours, for it to really do the proper proofing. So this is an example of a structured task that requires sequencing. But in a more simple matter, just, organizing a closet or a drawer, you have to go through a process of sorting, of, deciding what to keep, what to donate, reorganizing, and that really provides a structured tasks. And that goes on to the last point, which is project planning. Here is where grouping objects, sorting and discarding what's not needed. It's gonna help with our attention and our complex capabilities of the brain. Tip number 6 is that what's good for the heart is good for the brain. What's good for the brain is good for the heart. And again, we talked that blood flow and circulation, everything is connected. So if we are eating or doing a physical activity that's good for the heart, it's going to be good for the brain. In the same way, if we have a loved one who's having already circulatory issues with their legs, for example, which is very common, peripheral vascular disease, ulcers, then this is a red flag that their brain and their cognition might be at risk. So it would be the perfect timing to start doing these types of cognitive support activities to really protect the brain and its abilities. So what can we do? Again, we're going to see a bit of repetition here. Walking, again, boosts circulation and oxygen to the brain. So evidence states that just as short as a 10-minute walk can really support our oxygenation levels and our well-being and mood. So again, if we're feeling stressed, anxious, and just low on energy, do a 10-minute walk and you're going to really feel the difference. Hydration is very important, particularly in the younger population, or when we have jobs that require prolonged sitting or prolonged attention. We usually forget to drink enough water, and poor water intake is linked to weaker attention and memory. So hydration is really important. So just keep your glasses full and nearby to really remind yourself to drink enough liquids. In our nursing homes, we implement hydration rounds, so it's just a visual reminder. Every hour we go around and try to provide water to our patients because, again, they are going to forget that they need to drink enough. So diet, we talked about that. Diets such as the Mediterranean or the Mind diet, they are rich in antioxidants, foods, or omega-3s, which really help protect the vessels and the neurons as well. Now, deep breathing is something that we're going to see in future tips. Deep breathing, and again, activities that promote relaxation, helps us lower the blood pressure and the stress hormones that are going to strain our heart function. So you can just start with one of these and really see how you're going to start protecting your circulatory system one step at a time. Now, this is interesting. So we can do many activities that help us with both heart and brain support together. If we want to care for ourselves and a loved one, the 10-minute walk can be implemented as a couple or as a partner, as a son and daughter, and it's really something that we can do together to help both of ourselves. So moving together after meals is one of my favorite advice. We just finished, let's go for a 10-minute walk. It not only helps support both the heart and the brain, but really helps regulate blood sugar in the body. So it's gonna support our metabolic function and hormones as well. Swapping snacks, it's another way that we can really support our loved one. Instead of having processed foods or snacks, salty or sweets, let's go for a fruit, or a bunch of nuts, which can really support the mind diet intervention. Encouraging the water breaks, we talked about that. And again, the environmental modifications, how can we provide a relaxing setting? This is a way that we can help our loved ones. Think about what we talked about regarding promoting a better sleep environment, and you can really help support them sleep better and feel better. Tip number 7 is that a calm brain is a healthy brain. So one of the things that we have been studying is mindfulness. So how can mindfulness impact the brain? Mindfulness is basically being present, that moment-to-moment awareness that really helps us focus on the right here and the right now. This has been shown to really improve working memory, emotional regulation and attention. So if we are focusing on the now instead of thinking about what could go wrong in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month, and a year, that creates anxiety and stress. We call it anticipatory anxiety, and it has been linked to, greater cardiovascular risks. So mindfulness just really helps us get back to the present, improve our focus and attention, and support, again, cognition. Because if we have poor attention and poor focus, then really our mind is going to get away from us. So what can we do? There are several strategies. Breathing is one of them. Mindful walking, again, is a great strategy. Particularly walking outside, and again, there's going to be an element of repetition, because when we are outside, again, it's not just our feet that are moving. We get an automatic flooding through our senses. And what we should try to do is just notice our surrounding. Oh, look at the clouds, look at the sunlight, look at the trees. Are there any flowers? Are there any buildings nearby? We need to really explore our environment with all of our senses to get to the point of mindfulness, because again, the purpose is just focus on the moment. We want to clear our brain from all the anxiety and the noise. So you just going outside or changing your environment is sometimes one of the best strategies to just switch your brain, and provide a different stimulus. In my workplace, this is something that we usually do. We get up from our desk and just walk around and just change our environment and cool off literally for 10 minutes. And this again promotes circulation. We can breathe a little deeper, and we can just rechange and refocus. Another good strategy is just mindful eating. This is something, again, I practice in my basic workday, which is just slow eating. Focus on your foods, avoid screens and phones. The Asians use chopsticks, which is a very mindful way of eating, because it requires careful hand-eye coordination, and again, just focusing on your meal, how you are eating with a slower pace, because it requires patience. So mindful eating is just focusing again in your here and now, what's on your plate, and just trying to clear out all of the ambient noise. Tip number 8, which is the last one, is meaning keeps the brain active. Again, when we're idle, when we don't have anything to do, when we have unstructured and unplanned days, this can feel unnerving. So for an elderly or a loved one, particularly with dementia, we have a mistake, which is that we usually eliminate activities from which they can participate in. And this creates isolation and depression because they feel that they can't do anything anymore. So it's important to really keep the brain active with purpose and planning. The two P's are very important: purpose and planning. Establishing a schedule, we're going to have breakfast at this hour. I'm going to go pick you up at this hour. You're going to fold laundry. We need to build a predictable routine, reading, music. And again, we're going to be low on activities, so we can really try to, build their day around certain things that they can do. It's important to engage in household work within their capacity and their physical abilities, because again, if idle time is going to increase their risk for mood disorders and behavioral issues. So just having them fold clothes or sorting clothes by color, sorting towels by size, helping with the groceries, washing fruit, unloading things, and stocking the fridge. This can really help. Adding calming and joyful activities, again, lowering stress helps lowering cardiovascular risk. So it's going to be very individual. If they like musical instruments, I know it's noisy, but please provide them. If they used to like arts and crafts, then we can still do them within a safer setting. For example, I love aqua paintings, which is basically water-based painting. It's very simple. Even patients with moderate to severe dementia can participate with or without physical disabilities. So aqua paintings is something that I love. If they were very into art, it's something that we can include in their routine. And again, moving your body and including a social connection is going to be crucial to keeping meaning. We talked about this small achievable tasks throughout the day. We call them mini challenges, and I gave you a couple examples of how we can integrate them into their day. But other ways to simulate interaction is just asking, providing 3 or 5 objects and just asking which doesn't belong, what is the relationship, and this is going to really support conversation and engagement. But other simple tasks, you can also include them in, such as watering plants or, making the bed, even if it's not perfect. These are simple activities that they can participate in. And again, these are the 8 tips to preventing cognitive decline. Move your body. Exercise protects the brain. Keep in mind you are what you eat. Sleep supports brain maintenance. Social connection protects cognition. Challenge your brain with novelty and recreation. What's good for the heart, it's good for the brain. A calm brain is a healthy brain. And meaning keeps the brain active. So I hope you liked and enjoyed this video. Please share with someone who benefits from prevention of cognitive decline. Thank you. So bottom line, if you can't remember the 8 tips, think about doing something daily that falls in at least 2 of these categories: something new, something that requires thinking, something that requires planning, a movement activity, something social involving another person, or something that has meaning or purpose. So again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just cooking. Ask your kids or your spouse to get involved. For movement, take a short 10-minute walk outside. Thinking and planning, think about a small project around the home. And novelty, you can either read 5 pages of a new book, try learning a new word per day. There are calendars out there that can really provide you with this. And these are just small examples of small daily things or tasks that you can tackle daily to really promote your cognitive support. Thank you, and share this video with someone who might benefit from it.